I'm Mary Ann Dixell, Vice President of External Affairs for Comcast in the Pacific Northwest. I want to welcome Mayor Harrell, Tacoma City Council Member Keith Blocker, Rachel Smith, Head of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber, and Andrea Ray, Head of Tacoma Pierce County Chamber, and of course our host, Margie Haywood. Thank you so much for having us in your space today. I want to thank everyone for your shared commitment to advancing equity and supporting small businesses. And a special thanks again to Margie Haywood, owner of Work and Play Lounge and a Comcast Rise recipient. We look forward to hearing from you today as part of this program. Comcast in Washington is deeply committed to helping thousands and thousands of businesses who have been hurt by the pandemic. We may be headquartered in Philadelphia, but we're engaged, impactful local company who cares about what happens in our local communities. We've witnessed the pandemic decimate our thriving small business community, creating unprecedented volatility, challenge, losses, and closures. And now, rising inflation and increased expenses continue to pressure small business owners. Comcast Rise is our company's multi-year diversity, equity, and inclusion commitment to helping small business owned by women and people of color. We want them to succeed and grow. The program offers grants, marketing services, and technology upgrades to strengthen and empower small businesses recovering from the pandemic. So last November, 100 small businesses in King and Pierce County were awarded $10,000 cash grants through the Comcast Rise program for a total of $1 million. In addition, 100 received the $10,000 grants. A similar number of small businesses received technology makeovers and promotional help from Comcast Rise program. In addition to that, we used a number of local resources here to provide micro grants to small businesses throughout the state, another $500,000. So I'm excited to announce today we're doubling down. We're giving another $1 million here. Thank you. So by the end of the year, we will have distributed $2.5 million to small businesses who've been impacted by the pandemic, owned by women and people of color. The success of Rise depends on public-private partnerships to raise awareness and encourage small businesses to apply. That's why we're here today. We want to get the word out. We need small businesses to apply to get these grants. And we're honored to collaborate with the City of Seattle, Mayor Harrell, and our partners to the south, Tacoma, and the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber, as well as the Seattle Chamber. So we share a common commitment to helping these small businesses. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our mayor, Bruce Harrell.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Very excited to be here. I feel like a boxer. Because we're fighting together right now. We're fighting for minority-owned businesses, black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and I'll tell you that Comcast has been, quite frankly, when we talk about Comcast, I like saying Mary Ann and others because Comcast is not a person, but decision makers at Comcast are doing some incredible things. And when I think about my family's journey on the African American side, they came here for small businesses. They developed small businesses. They hired people from their community. When I think about the Japanese side of my family, exact same story. It was small businesses that kept food on the table. And right now in a city and in a state and indeed in a country where we are somewhat resource rich, particularly here, we have large companies doing some great things. Decision makers at Comcast realizes the importance of giving back in our communities to businesses like this, and you'll hear from the business owner, where ideas can get generated, where we know our communities, we know our culture. So this $1 million on the back of a $2.5 million, coupled to make a $2.5 million investment, quite candidly, is real dollars. And so in our office, on the in Councilmember Blocker, I'm not going to talk for the city of Tacoma. Well, heck, I will, because my wife's from Tacoma. No, I will not. But I'll tell you here that one of the reasons why I think I was elected is we realize in a world of e-commerce giants, In a world of income inequality, this kind of work becomes increasingly and abundantly in need. It is what we must do. So when I come to events like this, that I will say this is what our administration is all about. So through our policies and through the budget that I'll present actually tomorrow, you'll see embedded in our budget equity. Not equality, but equity. Recognizing that now, coming out of this pandemic, these kinds of investments will be even a higher need for them because it affected many of our communities disproportionately. So I'm very excited to talk about Comcast as a partner in this work. And indeed, many, many years ago, I don't want to sound too old, but it was several years ago, my daughter had her friends over on her computer, and they were trying to do some homework. And I talked to Comcast first, and I said, you know what? I said, the speed by which kids get internet, what they have in their home, is unequal. And Comcast was, I think, the first ones to really understand digital inequity. And they had come up with their Comcast Internet Essentials program, rolled it out nationwide. So Comcast has a history of going back into our communities and investing where it matters. So this celebration we have today is part and parcel, I think, what they've been doing. Again, we have the right people and the right minds with the right values and right commitment. Today's a good day. Thank you very much for having me. And now, we're going to hear from the esteemed, the one and only, Councilmember Keith Blocker.
All right. I'm not as smooth as the Honorable Mayor, so I'm going to stick to the notes that my communications department prepared for me. I'm a hip hop artist, so I'm used to freestyle, and they said, Keith, don't freestyle. So here we go. Hello, I'm Tacoma City Council Member Keith Blocker. It's my wonderful pleasure to be with you all today. As we work with our business community to recover from the business-related impacts of the pandemic, we have found that small businesses owned by people of color have experienced disproportionate impacts. They were underrepresented even before the pandemic, and in the economic fallout from the pandemic, they have seen unprecedented loss of revenue, employee retention, and layoffs. What affects one affects us all in our community. Over the years, we have worked to strengthen our local, regional, and national economic development partnership to ensure Tacoma's continued success. We are all in this together, and community partnerships like these are more critical than ever. In order to help facilitate anti-racist transformation in our community, we have enhanced our efforts in Tacoma to support BIPOC companies and entrepreneurs through increased direct business retention and entrepreneur support activities. Embedded within the City of Tacoma's Community and Economic Development Department since September of 2016, the Washington Minority Business Development Agency, Tacoma Service Center, has served more than 580 established minority-owned businesses. During the pandemic, the Washington MBDA Tacoma Service Center helped more than 45 small and minority businesses secure $4.2 million in CARES Act federal relief funding. Together, Washington MBDA Tacoma Service Center and Community and Economic Development Department staff have continued working to provide technical assistance to BIPOC and women-owned businesses, and throughout the pandemic, they were able to help 78 minority business enterprise firms. Our partner agencies like the Economic Development Board have also hosted a total of 30 workshops during the pandemic, providing technical assistance and training to 66 BIPOC-owned businesses, as well as paycheck protection program and economic injury, disaster loan workshops, and training to more than 495 BIPOC-owned businesses and 120 businesses enterprise firms. In response to pandemic-related impacts on small local businesses, the Community and Economic Development Department, using allocations from federal funds, issued nearly $8 million in loans and grants for operating support and window replacement. It's been a lot of breaking of windows. Very interesting. Of these funds, 72% went to areas of low and very low economic opportunity areas. 55% went to BIPOC businesses, and 52% went to women-owned businesses. For recovery grants, 59% went to BIPOC businesses. We continue to actively promote financial and technical resources for Black and other minority-owned businesses through our MakeItInTacoma.com website and e-newsletter as the city's official social media channels and other platforms. Our economic development portal, MakeItTacoma.com, provides details on the variety of resources we have available, including financial support, startup support, events and trainings, employer resources. You'll also find information on resources available through the Comcast Rise on that portal. Comcast stepping up to offer $1 million in grants, as well as technology and marketing resources, then 1 to 100 small businesses owned by people of color in King and Pierce County. The Comcast Rise program gets us one step closer to helping these businesses achieve long-term resiliency. I would love to see small businesses owned by people of color in Tacoma apply for relief grant services and solutions like these as they become available, as it will help ensure their success over the long term. Ultimately, our shared goal is to help these businesses retain strong, viable, and resilient. Again, we are all in this together, and thank you very much.
Well, much like you, I'm a freestylist, and I speak a lot at different events, and I'm gonna stick to my script, but I'm gonna say I have to take a picture from this angle. I'm all emotional because this was my vision 7 years ago when my kids had an accident in Harborview. We were in Harborview with my kids on life support in ICU, and I remember making a decision that day that I was going to pursue what I really wanted to do, and it was to bring people together of all ages, of all races, of all colors, of all wearing colors, all hairstyles. Everything in this room is coming to life. So I done got emotional in a way I never expected to happen. So can I take a picture from my angle, y'all? Because this is like part of my dream, to have leaders and politicians, and to have community members, and to have business decision makers and media and everyone in a space together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm off script altogether. But thank you all for being here. I'm serious, y'all. So you are exactly what Work and Play Lounge was created for. I needed space where I could help gather people. I've been doing it in the community since I was little, born and raised here in Seattle, Garfield alumni, Washington Middle School, UW is my school. So I'm definitely a Seattleite. I love my city. And to have a space like this where I could bring people together, because most places I would rent venues, and I did the aquarium, all these places, but they weren't ready for this kind of room. They weren't ready for a whole bunch of different people to come and to gather, to have real dialogue, to talk about equity and inclusion, to talk about the differences and disparities. They weren't ready for this kind of conversation. So my motto has always been, since I was a little girl, well, I'm just going to create the things I wish existed. And that's what Work and Play Lounge literally is. So I plan to go well beyond what we've kind of put me into a box of what co-working was. I had no idea what that was. I just was writing out. I said I need a space where I could bring my kids sometimes because I were rehabbing. I said I need a space where people like me could come in with my pink hair color and my nails and my colored clothes and come in and be able to sit with my friends and my family, because my family looks just like this. When we get together, this is what our literal family looks like. It's not all black, it's not all white. It's literally a mix of different people. So that's exactly what Work and Play Lounge is in a nutshell. And so I'm excited to be here. So I'm going to stop there and just come here. But I want to say thank you from my heart, because that's the stuff that's off script. So thank you. So first I just want to say I'm grateful and I'm humbled to have you, my leaders in the community here. I'm just got to say it, I would not be here today without my faith and trust in God, and my husband who's in the back, and my children, my village, my leaders who have paved the way for equity and equality for me and those looking up to me. A special thank you to Andrea, Samantha, and to Rachel and the Chambers for championing me. And you know what I'm talking about. You've motivated me to never give up, to keep getting back up, looking ahead on this journey that is called life, that is familiar to all of us. A special thank you to Comcast. I remember thinking, and I didn't think I was going to cry, but I remember thinking, I don't qualify, never have, and rejection is just getting painful. But I applied, and you would have thought I won $1 million the way that I screamed. As a self-funded business of more than 7 years, facing racism, barriers, rejection, and no access to funding like so many others, the Comcast Rides Grant came at a pivotal time in my journey. And this was last year. It was the first money from any institution I had ever received. In reality of the true cost to run a business, it might not seem much to other people, but between the U1 award letter and the $10,000, it gave me more than just capital to prevent my business from closing. It gave me and my family joy, because we screamed and we celebrated. It gave us hope and confirmation that we are seen and that we qualify as business owners who deserve to participate in the business ecosystem. I am more confident after winning that I've made the right decision as an entrepreneur. That when you use business to build community, that you advocate and invest in others without expectation of return or benefit, much like the Comcast Rise Investment Fund is doing in our communities, you will always get a positive return on investment. Our government is made up of business, health, financial, transportation, environment, criminal justice, education ecosystems. And so my thing is, we cannot keep participating in word trends like diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are highly profitable terms, without meaningful efforts to pour in extra resources to close these disparities. This is harmful, and it perpetuates injustice and deepens mistrust in communities. At this point in the popular buzzword game, our decision makers and those people and companies in positions of power must put your money where your mouth is by putting your giving, your policies, your hiring, your funding, your leasing, your lending, and contracting where your multi-year plans, marketing campaigns, and public declarations are. We must go to the communities, invite them to the tables, to the table that is making the decisions about them. Meet with, talk to, and transform the prejudiced practices and narratives we've inherited in this country about the groups of people before we make judgments and decisions. I decided to share my story today because someone else has experienced this. And even if I don't benefit directly, my hope is that others will be empowered, feel supported, and encouraged to speak up, to apply. I lost everything in 2019 in a very, very targeted scheme by a lady who preyed on me in a subtenant lease. I remember the number of times that she mentioned she wanted to give this opportunity to a black business. Because her ex-husband was black. I should have looked at all the signs, all the red flags, but I was desperate after so many barriers just to start. Long story short, she was secretly planning to file business bankruptcy without including me in the proceedings. After investing all my life savings, over $150,000 cash, my business was displaced 8 months later without notice and 6 months pregnant. There's been no accountability for her actions, as I couldn't even afford to pursue her legally, and she knew it. But it was a blessing in disguise because COVID closed the whole world down. For the first time since being a kid, I found myself back in poverty, now qualifying for government assistance and stimulus checks. I decided I would save every dime that the government sent out that year to reopen my business, even if that meant not paying my house bills. This is often the dilemma that business owners of color face. I'm currently in a subtenant lease. This is the same building I inquired about years ago that was eager to have me until they met me in person. And I feel they see my face. Their narrative changed and why they didn't want to proceed, but it's funny, I'm still here years later. As embarrassing as it has been for me to say this out loud, the outrageous barriers to secure space and funding are unfair to those who have historically come from no wealth or privilege, but I was determined to just do it. I have even inquired about expanding it and have not even been afforded the opportunity to take a tour or apply before being told I needed a co-signer. I haven't even had basic rights to tent to HVAC, signage, and maintenance yet, and it's been a year. I walked in, one of the media guys said, "Do you have an HVAC system in here?" No, I've been working over a year to get it. They keep telling me it's on the way. I'll be honest with you, I'm standing here on the verge of losing again because funding and growth opportunities are so limited. I may not be in West Seattle anymore due to the unwelcoming and differences in treatment I've received from my landlord. I'm not interested in paying to be mistreated. I can't pretend all is well. It breaks my heart that my community has constantly been in a catch-22. I don't know where the rest of my paper is, and I don't think it's all here, but I will say this as I wrap up, that these are real tears, real stories, things I never expected to do. I haven't cried on stage ever in my years. But I want you to know that I'm sending out a call to action to people. I need help, and I'm no longer afraid to say it. I was so embarrassed, and I contemplated up until this very moment in that room, would I share my story out loud? Because I was embarrassed, trying to act like I had it together, acting like I finally opened my first business and all this good stuff. But the journey to get here matches what this mission has matched what we've all seen, the disparities in happening, and why the mayor and so many leaders are saying we have to do something. I'm proud to say, on the flip, a person took a call to action, and her name is Jane, and Jane might be mad about me saying this, but I met her at the regional leadership conference this March, and she said, we're gonna get you into some space. Coming next Saturday, I will be opening another location in Queen Anne. With low barrier access. They didn't send me through hoops and loops or nothing. Commercial space, storefront, prime real estate. Access because she took and heard me and seen the vision and wanted to participate. And their organization, that's Plymouth Housing, wanted to participate in being a part of that. So I'm saying this, I'm representing, and I invited other business folks here from my community too. And I wanted you to know that there are so many stories behind here. There are so many people, real lives that are impacted. And we will champion our leaders and decision makers. Because we know that you're doing the right thing. Me and Markham had a deep conversation last week. Me and Rachel had a deep conversation. Because I believe that these are my leaders who are championing for this work to really be done. So as I close, I want you to know, we spoke some time ago, and you meant what you said, and I appreciate that, and I hope that other organizations will continue to follow this, even if there's no tax write-offs. Give, spend, support, leave a review. It's simple ways to invest. It does not always have to have a return on investment. No, you're not getting a tax break by giving to a business like mine, but the investment that you give will create generational wealth, and your name and your dollars and your help and your reviews will help create generational wealth. So I'm grateful to be in this space, and I appreciate you, Mayor. You didn't see me 20,000 times, and I'm going to keep showing up to my community, keep advocating, keep inviting. I appreciate having you here and having you represent as a black man, because I haven't met a black man council member. Did you know that? In my years, that means something to me, and I'm grateful to have you in my space. I'm serious. Both of these leaders, you all know how I feel, everyone in this room, and to see some faces. I see braids in this room. I see a hat in this room. I see beards in this room. I see nice suits in this room. It means so much to me. I see Asian eyes in this room because we've talked about this and the barriers that people are facing. I love it. This is what community looks like, and this is what it's gonna look like when you come to Work and Play Lounge. You are all always welcome here, and I hope this won't be a first or the last. Bless you. I invite up Markham. Come on up.
Thank you, Margie. And I mean, that is a powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Because I think that's what we're all here for today, is supporting businesses like you. My name is Markham McIntyre. I'm the director of the Office of Economic Development for the City of Seattle. And at the Office of Economic Development, we're really all about trying to help design the future of Seattle's economy so that it's more inclusive, more competitive, and more prosperous. But really what that means for our work day to day at OED is trying to break down barriers and open up access for businesses like Margie's. Because it really isn't just about buzzwords. It's about solving practical business issues and making sure that you have what you need to be successful now and try and build up wealth for your future generations. And so as we think about what that means, a lot of it is investment. You talk to businesses, small businesses, access to capital is at the top of the list every year. That was before the pandemic and became even more clear during the pandemic. So with Comcast stepping up with Rise, which is a direct investment in small businesses, they're meeting that #1 need for small businesses. And the fact that they're directing it to business owners who are historically have been locked out of those access to capital opportunities and locked out of wealth creation opportunities is just incredibly meaningful, and that's really what's going to drive our economy forward and create that one Seattle economy that makes sure that everyone can participate in and benefit from our success. So I'm just really excited about this. If you know me, you know I'm all about partnerships and alignment, and this is a perfect example of that, where we have aligned, focused goals, and we're partnering together to share the word, spread the word, encourage people to participate, encourage people to apply, so that we can make a better economy now and for the future. So I'm just really excited about it, but I want to be brief because I think Margie's story is really what should resonate coming out of this meeting today. Thank you so much again for sharing. Thanks everybody, and thank you Comcast.
Well, hello everybody, and agree, hate going after Margie. And I'll just reiterate a couple of things that were said today on behalf of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. While we are in this sort of new phase of living with COVID-19, pandemic-related impacts continue to exist for too many of our local businesses here in the region. And the acute impacts of the pandemic really layer on top of the systemic issues that Black, Indigenous, and people of color-owned businesses have faced in this region. A survey by the Federal Reserve found that small business declines in revenue from 2019 and 2020 were most severe for businesses owned by people of color. Not surprising to anybody in this room, but unacceptable nonetheless. Now we know there have been relief efforts, the Paycheck Protection Program and the Restaurant Revitalization Fund and the Working Washington grants and the Shuttered Venue grants and the Seattle Small Business Stabilization Fund. And we know that our businesses have been looking under every single rock to keep them afloat and to reduce expenses, even working with landlords to try to renegotiate more affordable rent agreements. Many of our businesses would not be operating today but for that aid, and so I want to say thank you to our local, regional, state, and federal partners for that. But now, 2.5 years after the pandemic has hit, our businesses continue to face challenges, continued supply chain interruptions, sky-high inflation, and much of that financial aid is no longer offered. But today, there is good news thanks to the Comcast Rise grant program. Truly, as you just heard, a $10,000 cash grant from Comcast can be the difference for a business that is facing closure at the end of 2022, let's say. And the marketing and the technology makeover assistance that Comcast offered it's actually perfectly timed. Recipients can take advantage of this as we kind of hit that midwinter slump after the holidays. It can be extremely helpful. And at the Chamber, we love that these resources are intentional, that they, in addition now to being offered to businesses run by people of color, women-owned businesses are also now eligible, yes, which is great. And women actually started 49% of the new businesses in the U.S. in 2021, up from 28% in 2019, according to a new study by Gusto. So we'll never forget getting the celebratory email that we got from Margie after she received her first grant. And I really want to encourage every business owner who is eligible to apply for this assistance and the cash grants. Do not miss your part of this $1 million pie. Up next, I'm going to introduce Andrea Ray from the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber of Commerce. I know a good friend of this business and to our chamber. Andrea.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Rachel, and it's so great to see everybody here this morning to celebrate this amazing announcement. Pierce County is one of the most diverse regions in Washington State, so it is important that our small business community reflect that diversity. Unfortunately, again, as we've all heard today, our small businesses, and particularly those owned by women and people of color, are now facing increased expenses as they recover from the pandemic. And one of the biggest obstacles to BIPOC and women-owned businesses is the lack of access to the proper tools and technology needed to thrive. That is why the Comcast Rise marketing and technology grants are so important. Not only do they help provide that digital access, but they can improve digital literacy, allowing small businesses to be more agile, strategic, and of course, ultimately more successful. The Tacoma Pierce County Chamber has strived to advocate for small businesses through leadership, advocacy, and relationships. This includes partnering with other organizations and companies to offer new ways to support small business growth. We know we are stronger together, and together is the only way that we will really create economic equity and build generational wealth within and for our community. Our vision is to make the South Sound the most equitable and inclusive place to do business in Washington State. Comcast has been a vital partner in our efforts to support small business. On behalf of the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber, I'm excited to work alongside all of our partners and organizations to help support our local small businesses. And Mary Ann, I'm turning it back over to you.
Great, thank you so much. So let me give you a few details. I want to thank all of our speakers, and Margie, thank you for sharing your story. You have illustrated in a way that you know, if you're not in it, you don't really appreciate the struggles and issues that we're trying to address. So the application period starts October 3rd, and it goes till October 16th. So it's a 2-week period. You can go to comcastrise.org. There will be links on all of these sites, you know, OED, the chambers, you know, we want you to help get the word out, the comcastrise.org. I want to take a minute to have Dave Mandapat stand up. He is leading this program. Dave and Andy Colley on my team are leading this program. So if you have questions, they're here to answer that. But you know, no single effort can solve the issues that we've heard about today. We need to be doing this together. And again, I want to thank Mayor Harrell. I want to thank Councilmember Blocker, the chamber representatives, and Markham, and of course you, Margie, for highlighting this issue, the importance of this, and helping us get the word out. So with that, I want to close today's session here and say thank you all for coming.